Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Is that okay? Cool. How many of you already had a class this morning? Me too. How many of you made it there on time? Okay, I don't know if anybody else was like me, but I made it on time miraculously. And I don't know how many other times that's going to happen, but that's how my morning started, so I'm feeling a little disoriented. But the good news about that is now I can be in a space where we all can just talk and relax together and worship together and praise together. And that's something to be joyful of, right? Awesome. And maybe, just maybe after this chapel, I can go out and actually feel a little more oriented in where I am and what I'm doing. And I'll make it to class a minute before it starts. Yes, so that'll be nice.
Heavenly Father, thank you that you're here and you're with us. I pray that right now you will remind us of that as we get to learn about what's going on in our school and how we can engage in that. And I pray that we press into you in that and press into what the school has for us. In your son's name we pray, amen.
I just want to say that we're going to be going down a list of announcements. All of them are really important, so just keep tight for a second. The first one is on behalf of the mailroom. How many people have seen the mailroom, know where the mailroom is? Okay, it should be everybody, but we can take a tour. So you know how small it is. So you know that if you don't go and pick up your mail, it's going to get even smaller. And I am also at fault for this. I have like 3 packages in there right now. But if anybody has mail in there, go get it so we can have a bigger mailroom. Cool? Cool. Now I'll turn it over to Lisa.
What? Okay, so hi y'all. My name is Lisa Werner, not Warner. I see people that I know. That's so exciting. I've only been working here for 4 weeks, so I want to get to know everyone, but it's a slow process. So I wrote some things down because when I get in front of a group of people, my mind goes blank. So again, I work for the Academic Success Center. How many of you guys know what that is? Raise your hand. Awesome. Okay, that's a great start. So our department exists on campus because of one really great big reality. College is hard. Yeah, and we understand that students come to college with a lot of great learning backgrounds and learning styles. Some great, some not so great. But the reality is that there's often a gap between where you want to be and where you are right now. Maybe you have anxiety about not knowing where to even begin on an assignment. Maybe you have frustrations because the material is really hard and you're struggling to put the basic pieces together. Or maybe you're just doing okay and you're a B or C student, but you want to get to a grade A. That's the essence of why we're here. To help you to get where you want to be academically. We want to get you to the point where you're confident in your skills and your abilities in whatever major you are. So, if you'll go to the next slide, we are pushing 3 main programs this year. The first is the Academic Success Center. Raise your hand if you know where that is. Okay, for those of you who don't know where that is, it's on the main floor of the library. You walk in, you take a right, you see all the tables, and then you look kind of like 11 o'clock, and there's a giant easel with a sign on it. That's us. Also, Brain Food. I'll kind of give you a rundown on what these are and then where they are and then what they do. Brain Food, you might have seen me in the cafeteria. I'm going to get a really cool sign, so hold on to your hats. We're right before you actually walk into the cafeteria with all the tables, so you really can't miss us. So what are those things? It's a place where you can get some extra help academically. We can go over notes, help explain assignments, clarify, unpack, and process concepts taught by your professors. Work on your writing skills, so like grammar, mechanics, creating a thesis, structuring a paper. And we can even help you locate additional resources that you can use for your own studying or research. But ultimately, we're here for you for whatever you need, from basic concepts to the larger ones. Every learner is welcome. We promise. It's safe. It's okay. And the second one is the online writing help desk, which is really cool. Not many universities or colleges have this. You can take whatever you have on your paper that you've written, turn it in online, and a professor here, Dr. Jenna Thompson, will look over it and give you great personal feedback. It's really awesome, and she'll get it back to you within 24 to 72 hours, but usually it's 48 hours, like 2 days. It's not bad at all. So if you see on the main website, I was going to pull it up, but it's okay that we can't. If you know where to find these resources, where the Academic Successes website is, show a friend. If they don't know, ask for help, because the resources are scattered all around the campus. We're really trying to make everything available to you, from flyers to handouts. So yeah, I want to close with this. I understand that for some of you, the idea of asking help is really anxiety-filled and stressful and scary. You're putting yourself out there, and that can make you really vulnerable. But I hope that I can reassure you that no great artist, musician, scientist, actor, or writer ever got to where they were without some help. In most great works, you'll even find an entire page dedicated with a long string of lists of names for people that helped them to get to where they are. They knew just how valuable it was to ask for help, suggestions, words of wisdom, and my hope is that the Academic Success Center, me, Rod, and the whole slew of tutors that we have this year can be that for you. Thank you. Okay.
If you are new to Warner, raise your hand. Great. We want to see you all today out on AF grade lawn. Your CAB team wants to meet you tonight, and so we are having a literal meet and greet. It will be at 5 o'clock on AF grade lawn. Your CAB team will be cooking for you, and it's just for us to be able to get to know you, for you to get to know other students and faculty and staff on your campus. Everyone's welcome to come out, so please join us for today's meet and greet on AF grade lawn. The drinks are Capri Suns, by the way, just FYI. Don't get excited.
All right, hey guys, I'm Rochelle. I'm the vice president for the Warner Pacific Ultimate Frisbee team. Yeah. So the new year's begun, and Dub Puff is super excited to get back out on the field and toss around the Frisbee with some friends, old and new. This Thursday, tonight, at 6 p.m., also on AF Gray Lawn. So if you went there for the meet, stay for the Frisbee. We're going to get together and create a positive and encouraging atmosphere on campus surrounding the sport of Ultimate. So we're willing to engage and encourage anyone who's interested in Ultimate by teaching, encouraging, and inspiring enthusiasm while developing a love for the game. So if you have any questions, you can email Jordan Olson at jolson@wpc.edu. So tonight, 6 p.m., AF Green Lawn, see you there.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin Henderson, and I'm the marketing manager for the Asian Pacific Islander organization. I just want to let everybody know that tomorrow we're having our very first meeting of the year. It's going to be in the sub at 2 p.m. to around 3 p.m. This is a really great opportunity for anybody who's not involved in any clubs to get involved with something. We have a really big mission this year. We have a lot of plans, and we're hoping to have a lot of people show up because this is a chance for us to really create something, not only on campus, but within the community. So I strongly encourage everyone to show up. Even if you're not Asian or Pacific Islander, we welcome you. Even if you didn't express interest at the involvement fair, we welcome you, and I hope to see everybody there. And if everybody does come and it's too big, we'll just come up here. It's fine. So, who's next?
Hi, I'm Kayla.
I'm Haley.
And have you guys heard of mantra? Anybody? Raise your hands. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So we are a gender equality club, and that might scare you, that the idea of gender, because we are a group right now of only girls, and we really want men to join because it's not just females, and we're not just trying to advocate for, our gender. So, just a little new development is we're a new club, and if you guys came to the involvement fair, we had a little contest. We needed a slogan because the word mantra is a slogan. It's a resounding sound. It's an energy that keeps on going for as long as it can. So we did a slogan contest, and if you guys want to do like a drum roll, yeah, okay. It is, together we will find our mantra, and that was Vanessa Guerrero who wrote it. There you are. So, we have a first meeting on Monday at 2:30. If you cannot make it for some reason, if you guys put your email down, Corey, where's Corey? She's not here, that's okay. She will send you guys an email talking about more information about the meeting, how you guys can get involved. We have a few positions open if you guys are interested in that. If you guys did not sign up with your email, email Corey, and you'll be able to find her on the Warner email, everything like that. So, anything else?
If you have questions or you're not connected already, you can find Kayla or I or Molly or Corey or Rachel, wherever Rachel Payne is, and we can get you connected because we're excited to get started. So,
yeah. Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to stand up here because I'm short. Yeah, right. Oh my word, students, looking at you, I am so excited about this campus. You are amazing, and chapel is amazing. Can we give Michelleing a big round of applause and the work that she's doing? This is my second chapel. This is my second chapel this semester, and I've already been moved to Tears twice, so thank you. Let's just say when I was coming to school here, I was not moved to Tears in the same way. Okay. So I graduated from Warner. My name is Serena Klein. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations and Annual Giving, and I graduated from this place in 2002. You are amazing, and I am more proud of this campus today than I have ever been. And it's looking at your faces and hearing your stories, engaging with you. It's amazing, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so thankful because you are making my campus more amazing. I keep saying the word amazing. But we are standing on the shoulders of so many amazing alums and administrators and faculty. And so we want to celebrate our history. So we're starting Founders Day, which is the day that Warner opened its doors. Does anybody know the original name of our college? Pacific Bible College. Excellent. Does anybody know the exact date that we opened our doors? October 5th, 1937. So we are going to be celebrating Founders Day with a number of things. We've created a timeline. Is Sophie here? Sophie is not here. That's embarrassing when your name's called out and you're not here. But that's okay. Sophie has really helped me. Arthur Kelly, Cole Dawson, President Andrea Cook, former President Marshall Christensen. There's so many people that have helped us gather this timeline of our campus. So I encourage you to go to our website, warnerpacific.edu/Founders Day, to learn about our history. There's some really cool stuff. Like when the library was opened, there was a building where all of the stuff was happening on campus, all the classes, the library, the cafeteria, everything was around where Schlatter is. That building no longer exists. But when they moved the books, they literally made a human chain of students and they carried the books to the new space. In the 1980s, we had this new revolution of a new kind of junkie. It says, gone are the days of the drug addicts and the food junkies. Now it's the era of the video game junkie. Have anybody ever heard of video games? Well, they started playing them around the 80s. And so look at our timeline. Our timeline is hysterical and awesome and inspiring. So read the timeline and study, because Student Life is going to be hosting on October 5th. They're going to be hosting a trivia night at 7 p.m. so you could win some prizes. So I encourage you to study up. We're also going to be celebrating during lunch that day. We're going to be celebrating a birthday party down in the cafeteria. We're going to have a big cake cutting. President Cook will be cutting our birthday cake at 12:30. So please come down there. If you have a meal plan, just use your meal plan. If you do not have a meal plan, my office and Sodexo will be subsidizing the cost. So it's $5 for you to get lunch that day, and we'll be paying for the rest of that. So come and celebrate with us. And then the other piece of this is donations. So we are seeking donations from our current students, our faculty, our staff, and our alums. We have one of our alums who donated $3,000 as a challenge. He looked back and he said, my life would not be what it is if it wasn't for Warner Pacific College and the scholarships that I got. So he's given back his scholarships to encourage you all to give back as well, even now as students. So if you give even just $1 towards Founders Day, you will be entered in to win a semester of free books, up to $500. So we're going to be seeking donations, and really, raise your hand if you have any sort of a scholarship, any sort of scholarship or financial aid. Look around. It's almost every single person in here. So you're going to be supporting yourselves and then supporting our future. So please join us in Founders Day. You can donate online at warnerpacific.edu/Founders Day, or we'll be taking donations at the end of chapel starting week after next, and then down in the cafeteria on Founders Day, which is what day? October 5th. All right. Thanks, everyone. And then Jeannie.
Hi, everyone. This is the last announcement, I think. Yeah. So we are starting the year off with the best way we could possibly start it off, a day of service as a whole community. Common Day of Service is next Thursday, September 17th. That is a day where all of your classes will be canceled, so you do not need to say you can't attend because you have class. It's canceled. You don't have it. Unless it's in the evening, then you might have it. But at 9 o'clock in the morning, meet in McGuire Auditorium. You will be given a service site when you get here, so you don't really need to do any prep work. All you need to do is wear clothes that you can get dirty in and that you can work in that are comfortable. And if you want, you can bring a water bottle, but we'll provide water, we'll provide lunch, we'll provide your service site, we'll provide your transportation. Just show up here at 9 a.m. It will be most of the day, so we'll return back to campus around 3 o'clock. And you will be able to log all of those hours toward your service requirement as well. In addition, we are looking for about 25 students to help make lunches for everybody else. And it's actually a really fun experience, even though it starts at 6:30 in the morning. 6:45 in the morning. But if you come at 6:45, actually, Brittany Belcher, who's right there, she'll be in the lobby after chapel today taking sign-ups for those of you who would be willing to come at 6:45 in the morning, get free coffee, free donuts, and help make lunches for 400 awesome people who are going to serve in the city together. Thank you.
This song is referencing kind of, honestly, a very strange passage of Scripture. It's sort of one of those that's kind of hard to believe, and the story goes something like this. Jesus and his closest companions are with a crowd of people, and which is sort of normal. In the book of Matthew, crowds of people will follow Jesus around. And Jesus decides he needs to be alone. And so he sends his closest companions on a boat across the lake, and the wind comes, and they're out in the middle of the lake. And he dismisses the crowd, and he goes and he spends some time by himself. Then after he's spends some time by himself, he decides he needs to go back and be with his closest friends, who are now in a boat in the middle of a lake. And Jesus decides to take the shortest route from point A to point B, which is apparently walking on the water. So at some point, praying Jesus decides, I need to get over there, and he beelines it across the lake. Of which, now the story's not over there, of which one of his disciples, who's kind of the most zealous of the figures, decides, if he can walk on the lake, my turn. So I don't know if you know anybody like this. I have a daughter like this, who if she saw someone walking on the lake would be like, my turn? Yeah, get me out of the boat, right? And this particular disciple's name is Peter. He, time and time again, in his zealousness, goes a little further than he should. He says, Lord, bid me come. And so he kind of asks permission, right? And Jesus is like, come. And so Peter steps out of the boat, walks a couple of steps onto the water, feels a wind gust coming, and begins to get scared and sink. To which Jesus, I wish I knew the look on his face, grabs him, throws him back in the boat. And of course, everybody who's watching this, their reaction is probably much like yours. And the text says, and they begin to worship him. Now, it's sort of by fact a very odd story, and it's not the only one of its kind. There's prophets that get eaten up by fish and then spit up on the side of the shore. There's a virgin who becomes pregnant. There's a guy named Lazarus who gets risen from the dead. But I want to say in this story, don't get caught up on the facts of the story if it's unbelievable. Because often, at least I think in the scriptures, that which seems factually most unbelievable can often have the greatest truths attached to it. And I want to walk you through that today in a very limited time I have, because we're like already 10 minutes behind. So Matt, can you toss up the 4 areas of step into the story that we would like to have students step into the story? Have you ever psyched yourself out, overthought something? I imagine athletes do this. Like, you can run that 100, but by like the day before, you're just all messed up. It's in your head. That is today's chapel for me. So I did something I don't normally do. I ditched the notes. I'm good. I know what I'm talking about. Whatever. Plus, we're going to be 10 minutes behind anyway. Michelle, a reason why I psyched myself out is because I was so excited with how Michelle opened up our chapel year and our series on Tuesday, Step Into the Story. One, because I think it's a really, really brilliant and wonderful concept that she's going to ask speakers to come and not only perhaps interpret scripture, but also asks us to step into that story and finding where we are at in the story. But then she sort of outlined not just the stories of the Bible. We want you to be walking into your own story. We want you to take agency in this time in your life as you're owning what it is for you in this emerging adulthood season for you, to step into that and be responsible to your own story. But also she mentioned, we need you to be responsible to the story here at Warner Pacific College, and to be responsible for stepping into the story of your classmates, and for us who work here, your coworkers, which for those of us who work here, we have gotten a great reminder of recently the value of doing that. But then not only that, she reminds us that history is unfolding all around us. And we're living in an unprecedented time in American history and in the world. And to be able to step into those greater stories that are unfolding in the streets of our cities and in nations all over the world. And I was excited because I thought not only is this a brilliant concept that she has come away from, she leaves for the summer, the Spirit of God speaks to her, and she comes back with what we all need to hear. But it also is a bit of, how do I say it, a method for what I think is a responsible way at coming at the Christian life, which is sort of, I think, one level deeper analysis. And I began to psych myself out, not only because she was just great, but because this is super important to me. I didn't grow up in a religious setting. My kids, praise Jesus, will never know a time where they weren't Christian, hopefully. But that's not my story. Religion, Jesus, prayer, Bible, that wasn't a part of my upbringing. I don't think I knew anybody who read a Bible or prayed till I was 17, and I had gotten myself into some really, really awful situations and needed legitimate saving from myself because it was just bad. I'll tell you that story later. But the reason why Jesus and the Bible and Christianity and all of this began to make sense to me is because I saw myself in Bible stories, and that became truth for me. I mentioned at the freshman first chapel on a Sunday that Jesus interacts with people that his religion and his culture didn't value, and that's important to me because my story with Jesus started out where I was a person that the religious systems of today and the society didn't value, and I found myself in places where I needed Jesus to be compassionate to me. So when I see Jesus having compassion, it taught me, as I not knowingly stepped into that story and saw that maybe Jesus could meet me too. And that is how Christianity began for me, is a desperate need to step into the story and to see Jesus who could be compassionate for me. So over the last 48 hours, I've just totally psyched myself out. And I finally just dropped the notes. I'm going to do something I don't usually do. My number one rule for my classes or for chapel is don't get Jess fired, which CJ, you're not helping with. Thankfully, Dr. Glenn and Dr. Cook hadn't, whatever. So I'm going to try not to get fired today, but I'm going to go sort of off script. And I have probably about another 10-ish minutes. Okay, so I'm going to roll this quickly in 10 minutes. The story of Peter walking on water with Jesus is really important because I think when you look into it a little deeper, it shows an analysis of our lives and our world that is alive and well. And here it is. And I'm going to be really quickly, spoiler alert, here's the big deal. Faith and fear come together a lot of times. And fear is a manipulative motivator in our lives, sometimes by ourselves, sometimes from the messages of our culture, sometimes from the people that have been in our lives. And we will so often get in places where we have a choice between faith and fear. And I want you to understand and watch how we can step into this story of Peter and Jesus, and it will not only speak to our own lives, but speak to the other ways in which we want to step into the story, our unfolding history around us, for instance. And let me go something like this. For my first couple of years here as a campus pastor, there was this kind of strange movement in really conservative Christian communities that were trying to desperately try to get young people to not have sex with each other. And especially their church kids that did not want their church kids to have sex with each other. So the problem was dating, they said. Dating was a really bad thing. So they tried to create some alternative systems for young people to get to know each other and decide whether they wanted to marry each other, but without all the cultural trappings of dating. And I saw right through this as a way that religious people were trying to manipulate manipulate their students they were bored. And that primarily motivated by fear. Really, really be scared that if you sleep with someone, your whole world's going to fall apart, right? And so we had a particular church here in town that had particular students that were enmeshed in this thought process of trying to get students to not date. Here's the problem. I had 2 students, and they were spiritually mature, and they were emotionally mature, and they were amazing. And you could tell when you were around them, they totally had a thing for each other. Now, most of the time, I don't care about your dating life. Come see me when you're engaged. You guys will date and break up and break each other's hearts, and there's drama, and that's why I'm not on Facebook, and whatever. But with these 2 students, I thought these 2 needed to date. 1, because they totally had it for each other. But 2, because they needed to get beyond the fear that was in their lives that their church had instilled in them. I kept saying, your natural step of faith is to walk out and believe in the person that God has made you, the relationship you have with one another, the character that has developed in you and the character that you have developed in another person, that's developed in the other person. You've chosen the right person to like. So I would be nice to her, but when I was with him, I'd say things like, just go on, man, kiss her. You'll like it, trust me, it's fun. And this is the only time in 13 years here that a dating relationship has literally started in my office. Where they were both in my office to deal with the student program, and I was like, look, can we just stop this silliness? You are both so bound up in fear right now that is not grounded. And that the next logical step of faith for you is to jump out and believe in your character. Now, for most of us, that's not probably the ground of your next faithful step. For some of you, it's getting out of that relationship, honestly. Can you survive in your life and have value and worth outside of maybe this negative situation that's in, right? For some of you, it's not getting into the relationship. You are standing on the boat and you're trying to figure out whether you're going to put weight on that first drop of water. Will it hold me? And you need to get out of situations. A lot of religious people might have lied to you. There's not a lot of rules for this stuff, right? But there is a next step of faith for you, and I don't know what it is, but it's amazing in the story that Peter gets scared when the wind and when the winds come. Like, I would have been scared the moment, like, I was going to put my weight on the water. And for some of you, if you step into the story, I believe that God will always put us on the edges of faith for our lives, because he's interested in us growing to trust God more and not necessarily ourselves more. And I'm betting that if you stepped into this story, you could identify areas of your life that you are on the edge of, that it is time to step out of the boat. But here's the key about that story. He still sinks, right? Faith is always better than fear, even if the end result doesn't look like you wanted it to. And it just is. Faith is always better than fear, even if the end result is not what you wanted it to be. So you don't have to worry if there's a thing on your mind that says, I need to step out in faith here. You don't got to worry if you sink, because what happens? Jesus still grabs him and throws him back in the boat, right? But you know what? He was the only dude to step out of the boat. Like, that is pretty awesome. And now he's in the book. That's great. Step into that story and find where that edge of faith is for you. And here's the deal. It will almost always be in a whole nother plane of existence you didn't thought would be there, right? It'll be something that seems so off. And if I had more time, I would talk about how I remember I developed for 13 years how to trust God for me. And then when my little girl I had to trust God for my children. And when my little girl wasn't growing and she's 18 months and we're talking to doctors and she's not growing, it's a whole different plane of existence to have to trust God for her. And I've learned that all along, God puts me on these edges of faith and fear. Okay, step into the story for yourselves. But I think a little story like this shows a spiritual truth for the world that we are enmeshed in every day. Fear messages bombard us every day of our lives. I would say that fear is the currency that a lot of our advertising and a lot of our politics is built upon. Just for a bit of an example, you have all those horrible pictures. Okay, so one of my fears is I live with 3 women that are amazing. One's 8, one's 5, and the other one, I'm not telling your age because you're not supposed to tell women's age, but she's my wife. And raising young lady in this society where that is the model of beauty, right? That discounts so much of our experiences, where those messages that are bombarding my little girls and my wife, that they will never be pretty enough, that they got to continue to buy this product or alter their bodies in these ways so that they will be loved or so they will be liked or they'll have the good life or whatever, just scares that don't get fired out of me. But this is all based on fear, right? If you don't look like, oh no, not that. Fear to anger. Direct object first I will speak. Yes. Okay, you can take those down. If you don't live up to that somehow standard of beauty, the fear is that you will not be loved, that you will not be valuable, that you will not be whatever, right? I just had this conversation with 8 adult learners in our adult degree program last night. And to hear them talk about their struggle of raising their daughters when they don't like the way they look, right? I mean, it's just brutal. And as a guy, I only know a little bit of this because the idealized male body is now coming out and they just want me to wear tighter clothes, which I don't think is very comfortable. But that's becoming more and more, but I don't have a clue what it's like for some of you ladies. But that fear message is all over. And I'm telling you that the same dynamic in that story of a choice between fear and faith is alive and well in our everyday world, right? I don't think God created my daughters in his image for them to think their whole lives that they have to alter or slim or cover up, right? I just think there's a faithful understanding of deeper sense of who God has made me to be that continues to be a choice between faith and fear. And I think our politics runs on this, right? You don't have to put up the quotes, but I'm an Obama dude. I am. I love Obama. I got a thing in my But when he talks about climate change, it's like the eco-apocalypse. Like nations are going to have to kill each other for natural resources, and everybody's going to have to go, and there's going to be no ice. I mean, his recent speech in Alaska was just fear. And I don't think that's Obama's first card, but I know he plays it. I think it's Donald Trump's first card. I mean, we've got to build walls with fences, otherwise rapists are going to come into our neighborhoods. I challenge you in the next 400 days, get to identify a politics of fear. Like, these are the messages. Go through your Twitter timelines and see all the fear messages from advertising or from politics. And I think the same anecdote still becomes faith. Like, I'm not going to believe the worst in other people. I'm just not. But fear is a real currency that our world works on. Fear is a real currency that has, it's been shown from the police reports that what happens when a black man is approaching an officer is that officer gets scared. Like, fear is the currency, and we justify it if the guy is scared. We can justify killing people if the officer is scared. It is still a currency that the world works on. But having faith in our fellow humans, having faith in one another, believing the best, I think it is actually the pathway for hope for the world. Fear, whether we see it, whether we understand it, whether we know it or not, is bombarding us all of the time. And we've been trained to fear one another. This comes back to our community. We've been taught so often to fear one another. That our differences are too big, language barriers may be too big. But to say, we are here and we will have faith in each other, I think is still the way forward. And still has us needing to take a first step out of our boats. And I think I'm out of time, right? I want to challenge you to take some real first steps of faith in your life. Molly's got a couple of ways in which Campus Ministries is going to ask you to be participants. But I want you to begin to see your world and fear for what it is. And I think that not only is fear the opposite of faith, I think fear is the opposite of love. And both of those things get us closer to who God wants us to be and what our community is supposed to be. Amen.
Thank you, Jess. A couple ways that we do this is one that is behind me. We're going to be starting next week, morning, midday meditation. This is something for faculty, staff, students, anybody is welcome to these. If you're not available at one of the times, each day has a different time, so find a time that is available. You can come here for worship, for prayer, for contemplation, just to sit and chill out for a second. This will be a really intentional space for you, so please utilize this. We'll be doing this every single week. Another one that we'll be integrating is small groups. Small groups we'll put a little more information about that next week. Sign-ups will be available next week as well if you didn't sign up at the involvement fair. This is a way for you to be in a more intentional space with a smaller community of people to learn more about Jesus and the Word, or something that's been really heavy on your heart. That would be a place to do it as well. So please utilize the resources that you have. If there's something that's not being reached for you, please let us know so we can help. Let me pray. God, thank you for bringing us together this morning. Thank you for letting us worship together, think together, to think about what fear and faith really look like together. Thank you for letting us step into the story with you and with our friends as we go through the day. Don't let us forget the story that we keep on making. In your name I pray, amen.